Canti partiro.
Es para delegaré, mi fin de trayecto es tú. Boats and ho!
Live. Just like
All
that.
right, what's going on?
Seamless. What's up,
It's
boss?
that
How you
easy,
doing?
baby. Boss, I'm good, man. I'm here in Toronto just with the family for quarantine life. It's nice to be back in the city or the north. My mom's in the north, as you can see from the trees. So we're hanging out, man.
Do you like Saskatchewan better than Toronto, or?
Honestly, Sask is a beautiful place. Like, people who've never been in central Canada before, the people are just outstandingly golden. Is there more to do in Toronto? Yes, everybody knows that. But at the end of the day, like, Saskatchewan grows on you. It's that homey kind of vibe. You go to the grocery store and drop something. Somebody says, oh, can I help you pick that up? That's obviously pre-COVID days. It's just a place with a big heart, and it's got a lot of character. And when you think about Canada, you go there, you'll see a side of Canada
It's
that
very
we hear
Canadian.
about. Yeah, you know, Toronto's very diverse, but Saskatchewan's very Canadian and very nice people, good people. Salt of the earth, man.
Nice. All right, before we get started, I just want to say a personal thank you. Thank you for taking a chance on this young little scrappy kid from Brantford. Obviously, we've talked about this before, but I was supposed to move to Chicago, but that didn't work out. And then lo and behold, this blessing came upon me, got a job with my favorite basketball team, and my life has been very different ever since then. So it put me on a path that has led to this moment, essentially.
You know what, Ben? It's something I tell people. It's not about what me or any of us at Raptors were able to do for you. It's what you were able to do at Raptors. Like, you know, you came in, you were a creative guy. We were looking for creative people. I went through, I don't know, if maybe 1,000 resumes, something stupid each year, and yours popped. And then when we had you for your audition, it's an audition I'll never forget. This guy, ladies and gentlemen, like Vince Carter in the background of his and Rosen, he reenacted every single slam dunk competition pro bono, one at a time, for his skit that we asked our interacting members to do. It was the most creative thing I've ever seen. He put actualities and music to it. Actualities in our world means the calls, so it's like salami and cheese, Chuck Swirsky, or, you know, get that garbage out of here with Jack Armstrong, like those kind of things. So he literally took all those from all the dunk contests and put it into a compilation and then acted it out in front of us, and we just all couldn't stop laughing. So then it's not about us, it's not about me, it's not about what we've done, it's about what you've done, man. And it's so good that we got to meet each other because I get to see you grow, and it's been cool, dude. And I've been in your shoes, so. It
all started with you taking the chance on me. So for that, obviously, I'm forever thankful. Once you're given that opportunity, you run with it and take it as far as you can go. So
you got to run, man. Can't walk in this life. You got to sprint.
Can't walk, you got to run.
The marathon, but you got to sprint sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So obviously I met you through basketball, but growing up, you were more of a football guy, right?
Yeah, man. Since I was 8 years old, pretty much.
What I loved learning about you was, like, when I first met you, I was like, okay, he's a football guy, classic jock. But what I didn't know is that you had quite the strong drama background in high school, didn't you?
Yeah, my high school teacher hated me, though. My high school drama teacher hated me. In grade 9, I was like a supporting lead in a play. There was 2 casts, and one guy who had my role in the other cast dropped out, so I go with the other cast. It went really well. But then the one act the next year came along, and I went to a football practice instead of a rehearsal, and she came out to football practice and, like, grabbed me by my face mask, yelled at me. No. And next thing you know, I'm in the principal's office being told it's either football or drama, and I was like, football. And that's what helped me power me through to university, really.
Even then, that, like, performer experience has still, like, resonated with you. I've seen you sing. You got those high notes in you. I'm just like, dang, okay.
It's the love that I need. Yeah.
Exposing me, huh?
If you guys follow Russ on Instagram, he'll post some singing videos from time to time. And if you dig deep enough, you'll see a funky white boy just, you know, killing it.
Oh, man, you're killing me. I'll keep my sights on. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. If you have fun doing it, have fun. You know, I like karaoke. It's my jam. But I actually, believe it or not, I haven't been on a stage acting in quite some time. I used to MC lots of events, and that's kind of acting in itself. I actually auditioned for a one-act play in Regina, and I got the lead in one of the one-act plays.
Nice.
And then COVID hit. So I was like going to make my triumphant return to stage, and then COVID was like, nope. Canceled. All right, cool.
Got to delay it. Yeah. How do you feel your experiences, like, performing and everything? How does that help you in game entertainment?
A lot. A lot. So I think as a performer, you understand, like, you can understand where people are coming from. You can get their vibe. You can feel people out. Like, just the connection you have with them. It's something that you feel personally. So right now I manage a bunch of teams. We have a cheer team, a hip hop crew, a drum line, a pep band, an in-game host, and mascot. A side of my job that is about managing, creating visions for them, putting things together to make a show. When you're putting a show together, you need to understand, like, as a performer, what you can do to entice a crowd, what you've done that gets a crowd engaged and excited, and being somebody who's actually been able to be a mascot, having to dance in front of a lot of people, being somebody who's had to speak in front of a lot of people. You kind of understand and you learn throughout the years what works and what doesn't. First off, you're always learning. Nobody's ever perfect. Now you get to bring that knowledge to other people and also see when they're doing things that are great, you celebrate those successes. When they're doing things that are a little bit like, they could be better, you can then guide them and push them and say, hey, think about this next time. And I can get on their level and understand where they're coming from instead of just saying, why couldn't you do that? I'm like, yeah, I know it feels awkward to go there, but just go there. Like, take a chance. Like, get in there and, like, have fun with it. Relatability actually helps me quite a bit in my job.
Absolutely. Especially because since you have experience in that field, you essentially have to put on all these different hats and perspectives for all of them, because in order for the game presentation to go smoothly, they all need to be functioning at the same level.
It's like a perfect layer cake, man. It has nothing to do with hierarchy. Each person, each piece makes that cake whole. You know what I mean? And, like, for me, my job is to put the pieces of cake together. Everybody else is the content. And then I can say, like, here's the vision. So I structure the cake, but then it's up to them to actually be the ingredients to make the cake. So for me, you have a cheer coach who you want to empower them to be creative. You want to empower them to step outside their boundaries and take risks. It's all about pros and grows, man. If you look at a con is negative. It's what you learn and what you grow from that makes it a pro. Do you know what I mean? So it's pros and grows. It's kind of our philosophy. And so you have a cheer coach who gets to, like, be fully creative, and then you get to empower them to do those kinds of cool things while saying, like, here's the vision. We have an older fan base in Saskatchewan, but we know trending wise in the world that dance is more like hip hoppy and that style now. We want to transition slowly to that, but also find music that our fans will enjoy while the girls are dancing. It's all about finding what makes people feel good and what makes people excited. So yeah, that's kind of like the way I can put that.
That works perfect. I love the cake analogy, because it's like you're the chef or the baker, and all these different parts, these are your ingredients. All the ingredients they're great on their own, but when you put them together and they're all in unison, you have something incredible.
And it's delicious. It's like,
and it's delicious.
It's like Gordon Ramsay swearing because it's so good that it's not raw. It's when you cook that egg in that batter, now things start to take shape. And then it's just like the next step. And then you got everything. You got, like, your script together, your game pieces together, and then you put the icing on the cake, which is the game itself. Executed.
Yep, absolutely. Let's go back to Waterloo. Let's go back to Waterloo, because not many people I know, they play sports all their lives up until, like, high school. But then once they get to college, university, it kind of stops. But for you, you kept going. You played all 4 years. What were you, linebacker?
Linebacker and defensive end, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me what it's like, being a university athlete. Tell me about the life.
Okay. So I started in 2009 at Waterloo. We had a team that was like, we were okay. But being young and undersized, I was young and undersized as a football player, like, you go into a setting and these guys are grown-ass men. We had a guy on our team before there was some grandfather rules in. He was 29 years old. He was, like, in front of me. And I'm like, cool. I'm like 18, a buck 85, bench pressing nothing in my first year. But I could tackle anything. So that experience was crazy. Like, from working out every day, twice a day some days, to training camp, which was like 2 weeks of 2 days, where you can't feel your legs and you need to go in an ice bath full of, like, huge ice bricks. And every single week you have Monday study hall, and then you're practicing the rest of the week. It's preparation, it's studying, it's school on top of that. And then you also have games on Saturdays, and you're working hard so you make the roster, you dress, that you can play in the games. It's a lot of pressure. But there's nothing more exciting, nothing more I miss than every single day after school just going to practice and sitting in the locker room with the boys, and then going on the field competing or fighting somebody. Just kidding. All football players aren't any good. I was never the best football player. I was never the most athletic specimen, but I could fill in wherever I needed to fill in. I started on all the special teams, and I played defense and a linebacker. And I think it's just knowing your role. My role at the time was I knew this was going to be my life. I wasn't going to be a pro football player. So I was going to do everything I could to dress and make an impact. But if I wasn't a starter on defense or whatever, I was upset by it. But it wasn't like, oh my God, it wasn't the end of the world. It was like, whatever, this is my role. This is it. I worked out I do what I got to do. But yeah, like, and then the off season comes and, you know, you have to train. It's not just going to the gym to stay in shape. It's going to the gym so you don't get your ass kicked on the football field. It's going to the gym so you're faster than somebody else. It's going to the gym to like push somebody else around so you're not being the one pushed around. And then the preparation of like 5:30 in the morning practices, runs every Monday, workouts every Tuesday, Thursday. And then Wednesday we'd have our practice at 5:30 in the morning. Wow. We'd go into the locker room, watch film, and then practice at 5:30 in the morning. And like, we're talking contact in the gym. It's still dark outside, but the thing is that stuff kickstarted your day. Being a university athlete is a lot of fun. It's a lot of pressure. And the cool part is when you get to compete at the highest level for your age group in the country relatively, it's a good learning of like, now I don't take sports seriously. Like when I go play sports, I'm having fun. When people get really mad at dodgeball games and you see that like Tom, Dick, and Harry get mad at each other because like a guy like stepped over the line, I just start laughing because I'm like, dude, it's dodgeball. Like I was going up against like a 6'8", 300-pound guy who like was 100 pounds more than me, and he tried to pancake me. And if he did, or if I beat him, that was more serious. But we're actually trying to get a legit trophy that people work their butt off for. This is something where like you go to work, you drink your water, you do your yoga, you eat your vegan meal, and then you go spaz at somebody for dodgeball. So like, I just don't understand that. But at the same time, I love volleyball, I love dodgeball, I love all that stuff. I just don't take it seriously. I do want to win. Like, I want to win. But I don't get mad. But I don't get mad. I'm a joker, you know?
Side note, that was one of the smoothest take off the glasses. I was like, okay. That was good.
Brother, absolutely. Russell Baranashi. That's cool.
Obviously, the competitive nature will always be there. You know, you always want to be the best, strive to be the best. But when you put it from the perspective that, you know, you've played on like the biggest stages already, it really makes you embrace playing it for fun. You don't have to take it as seriously. While there's some people I know where an intramural type game, they'll take it so seriously. And it's just like, bro, it just was... have fun with it, you know?
We had a game, like we weren't very good. A guy on our team doing bad things, and they searched his house because he was stealing stuff, and they found a lot of steroids and pills and things like that. Oh, enough to traffic, and I'm not trying to slander anybody, so I won't say names, but
yeah, no worries, of course.
It created a steroid scandal in university sports across the country, and we all got drug tested. We were the first team to ever get fully drug tested. As I was a rookie, I was doing juice. I was just working out, busting my ass, so I didn't get cut. Yeah, so they canceled our season for a year, and then we had a fake season, and then we came back, and I'll never forget, I think it was in my 3rd or 4th year at university, because I did 5. We went to Carleton, and it was their first game since the Ravens football program had restarted. And it was the first game they had, and it was a homecoming game. And I remember walking in there, it was sold out. People were yelling things at you. They were calling you names. You're on the bench, and they're like, 48, like, you go to school, you know, like, you name it. And you're just like, what is happening? You don't get that. Like, you know, I mean, when you say the biggest stage, it's not the biggest stage. It's Canadian football. If I was in the States, that's a huge stage.
That's a huge stage.
That's a huge stage. Like for us, it's like, you know, it's still a big stage. We have those big games against MAC, which you have a sold out stadium, and they kick our ass. And it's like, there's nothing worse than having a sold out house in the first like half, you're down by like 30, and you're like,
yeah.
Shit. But like overall, our team, like, we grew a lot. Now it's a Waterloo's perennial, and pretty much my role of that program was keeping it alive and staying there and being a leader and playing my role. And I knew that when that all happened, I was always going to be that guy, because that's the guy I was. I'll never forget like the Carleton games. We get chirped and the people throwing stuff at us. Like you can't get that when you're playing rec sports unless you have there's one person freak out at you and start like calling you names, and it's just one person. Imagine a crowd of people. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, football was fun. It was a big part of my life. I'm Jewish, so I had a bar mitzvah, and even my bar mitzvah was football themed. We're Jewish, like, we're not like super Jews, so like we're just like you, but we're Jewish. So we, just to be clear. And so you get put on your shoulders. My brothers put me on their shoulders and came into the Rocky theme song with me holding a football.
Nice.
That was kind of my thing. And then now I went to Raptors. I went to Raptors forever, and then it went from football Russ to Raptor Russ. Yeah. And everybody talked to me about basketball and Raptors. Yeah. And Raptors. And it's like, people don't realize that's your job. So when you leave, all you do is you talk about Raptors. You would search up stats about the Raptors. You're trying to come up with fun things at Raptor games. And like, then people start talking about the Raptors, and you're like, can we talk about anything else, please? Like,
anything else.
It's like when I go on dates with girls and stuff, like, it's just like,
that's all they want to talk about.
I don't know anything about sports. I'm like, thank God, it's good. Don't worry about it. Just know enough. You know, we don't need to talk about it, because I don't want to talk about it. I'm just kidding. But like, yeah, man. And then I turned from Raptor Rust to Saskatchewan Rust in my family and my friend group. So that's where I'm at now.
What I found the most impressive with your university career was not only did you balance, you know, university schedule and like being on a team, We also balanced commuting from Waterloo to Toronto. This is where we have your origin story with the Raptors here, don't we?
Yeah, I actually got a great story of how I got the job, Ben, because you got the job. I think I called you. I got the job. I got a call from Anton, who's now the guy who oversees all game presentation.
Yeah.
I was in grade 12, and a day before the application had gone, I started when I was 12 years old with the Argos volunteering. I did it forever. And then I went to the Toronto Rock and volunteered, did that forever, all game day, game presentation, operations stuff. And then my mom told me her friend saw this, and so I applied. On the last day, I think it was like the next day, the day after, I get a call, and they're like, we want to bring you for an interview. And I'm like, yes. So I go into the interview, it's in this Raptors boardroom, and Anton's there, and Anton's like, are you the kind of guy that, like, if we put you in a New York Knicks jersey and pied you in the face, would you be up for that? I'm like, let's do it right now. Like, I can act. Let's go. And so I got the job, and the way I got the job is we had a bomb threat at my high school, and we're outside for a bomb threat. I have my cell phone on me, and I get a call on my cell phone. It's like, hey, Russell, this is the Toronto Raptors. Like, you've gotten the job for our interactive crew. Like, we're going to send you an email with all the information, but congratulations. And then they're like, this is the pay. And I'm like, that pay is great. Everything's great. We're talking like 2008 right now. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be like the craziest year ever. And so all I did for that whole year, I think I went like every single Raptors game. I was fearless. And I think it made the people who I worked with like respect me, because I just would be like, I want to do this game. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, let's go. And I ended up winning an MVP award that year, the award that we give out, that when I was on the team, we still give out. There's a lot of great people who won that. Myself, Josh, Kenny, and other folks, and Amelia. Like, I think that is one of those where that was a sign for me. And so I went to Waterloo, and then I reached to Annie Cho, who was my manager at the time. I love Annie. Annie ever watches this? Love you, Annie. I'm like, I want to be on the team. I really had so much fun. Like, I know I'm going to university. It's only an hour and away. I can take a train, a bus, or whatever. And she's like, okay, like, as long as you come to games on the weekends, we can work it out. And I'm like, okay. So I literally would take a Greyhound bus. This is before I had a car in Waterloo. I would schedule my week so I can do Fridays. We try to get my Friday afternoons off when I put my calendar together. So I would do Fridays, Saturdays, and Sunday games, and I would try to do a Monday or a Wednesday every once in a while just to keep things fresh. I get on Greyhound at 2 o'clock, get to Toronto at 4. 4 o'clock, I take a subway down from the Greyhound station. Then I get to work. I'm either an hour and a half early or I'm almost late. Always. And I would always get there, and I'd always be, attentive, do the exact same thing. I'd go with some folks, or I wouldn't. I would get the last Greyhound bus out of the city to Waterloo, and I would get back home at 2 o'clock in the morning and go to school at like 9. It's just a commitment that I made. And was I making money? Maybe I was bringing home $20 at the end of my expenses. But the thing is, like, I love the job, and I knew for me it was good to get exposed to these things. I was always on the schedule at some point. It just became a thing. It's like Russ is working. I'm like, okay, because you become consistent. That's what I was looking for when I was leading the team there. I was looking for people who were consistent. I was very fair with my scheduling of like first come, first serve. But at the same time, if I got something at the same time and this person performing better, probably going to give these people more hours. But that's also why I expanded the team. I'm the one who suggested it. I said we should expand the team, get more talent, and then we can be more interchangeable. And then we should also increase the amount of people that could work each game day, because I believe that we were maybe too short of actually having a perfect amount of people. Yeah, that's why you have a bigger roster now. When I was on the team and I looked at the old files, there was like maybe 8 of us. 9.
For one shift?
No, just like the team collaboratively, like for the interaction.
Oh, wow.
Like 8 people. There wasn't a lot of us. So over the years, it's expanded. And now you got like a team of like 30-ish people. Yeah,
like 20 or 30.
Yeah, man. And you have your game crew. And then now I was trying to make game crew and interactive team kind of flow naturally together. That would have been ideal. But I left, and then that was the Raptors thing now. So I was happy I led that team in a good direction, Going back and forth was a pain in the ass. It was during my football season and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But I made it work, man, because I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it. And actually, the Raptors were really, really awesome with me through my football stuff, too. I told them, here's why I'm playing football. I can't do this. And they would literally not book me. They wouldn't schedule me. But
nice.
As soon as I could come do a shift, like on a Sunday or whatever, they'd be like, you're in. So it's just like you build up that respect, and then that's kind of how things.
It's a testament to your commitment in terms of I'm all the way out here, but like I'm willing to come all the way down. And I can't imagine what that was like with football season and university on top of that. Your schedule must have been crazy.
And I decided at university when I was there my first year that I wanted to like do a Raptors style stuff with the university athletics department.
Nice.
So I signed up as a student program coordinator, and I ended up working in athletics. We created a program called the Ultimate Warrior, which was like myself and my friend Ben. And I'm like, here's the thing, like we're going to do like a series series of games, and whoever comes to the games with the most school spirit, because we're having a little bit of a school spirit issue then, whoever comes decked out in black and gold will be entered into a qualifier event on that game. And then if they win, they'll advance to the finals where they can win a big screen TV, which that was the thing.
Wow.
So that was year one. And then year two, they're like, cool, it's going to be a $2,000 travel voucher. And I'm like, see, that's legit. But just so you know, I was the host of the events. I was a PA announcer for games. I was a host for games, volleyball, hockey, basketball. Those are my focuses when I was there with no money. So you have to like do these things and everything else is going on. And I think throughout the years, I was able to play an impact in that. It lasted 6 years, man.
Wow.
That program lasted 6 years. So it's a testament to that. Like that's one of those where you start fresh, you start young and you learn, and then you take those learnings and you keep building, you keep planting the seeds and keep watering the plants, you know?
So you basically started the warrior tribe, essentially.
Well, those guys came in and started that warrior tribe after me, but that was kind of the overarching goal, yeah.
Essentially take responsibility for the creation of that, pretty much.
I can't. No, I'm going to say we helped increase the school spirit, did some really cool things. We tried things differently, and some of it worked, some of it didn't, but at least we tried, you know?
I continue to be impressed by your ability to balance all of these different things at once. On top of the Raptors job, on top of being on a university sports team, on top of the university itself. You're also the mascot for the Toronto Rock. That was one of the things that when we first met, I found the most impressive. I was like, yo, this guy's a mascot? I was like, what?
Yeah, I have worn lots of hats. I think at Raptors, the only thing I didn't do, either be the director or manager, obviously, or the DJ. I mean, in terms of like the office staff, obviously there's lots of other people.
Right.
But, and then The Rock was one of those things. I was volunteering with him for a long time. It was like me and this guy who used to be one of my mentors. Him and I would just do the games together, and I would run around like a maniac, and then they brought more people and things kind of balanced out. And then I was kind of the lead for a lot of things. And I said, you know what, hey guys, I'm going to university. Like, can you throw me a couple bucks? Like, just, I don't need a lot. I just need something to cover my transport. And they're like, well, actually, Russ, we have this new thing. We're introducing a mascot, and we need a performer because this guy we had just bailed. Would you be interested? We know you have a big personality. I'm like, it's not a lot of money. I'll be like $50. I'm like, whatever, I'll do it. Because I got to work with the Raptor for so long. I'm not going to say his name, and I looked up to him so much, and watching him over the years and working with him, I feel like I can create not what he does, but like my own thing from the inspirations of what he does. I did that. We introduced Iggy. I was the first Iggy, and then 6 years go by, and I'm still the Rock mascot, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, and it was literally the most fun I've ever had. The character grew from being the guy who replaced the cheerleaders. They brought the cheerleaders back to being every single time I'd go in the crowd, I'd climb on people. I was very close and upfront and intimate kind of a mascot. Big dimple chin, your typical stereotypical douchebag. Abs, like flash the abs. You know, I had to do dances with them and turned into a commitment of caring about being good. If there's anybody I've learned from, the Raptor, he's got that mentality times 1,000. First off, I kind of wanted him to give me that, like, okay, you're doing a good job, that validation, like you're not shit. And that meant a lot to me. And we've had those chats before, and we would kind of joke around. And then one year, unfortunately, the Raptor tore his Achilles, and then there was another character that was introduced, and I was asked to be the performer, which was Stripes. So that was a crazy year. I've never in my life expected to be tweeted about what I was doing for work negatively at first, very negatively at first. And then we made that Rudy Gay trade, and everything kind of turned around for us, and we started winning games. And then all of a sudden, Stripes was loved because he was a part of successful Raptors with the Raptor. Obviously, Raptor is the greatest mascot of all time. So I got to work with the Raptor for that whole year. I worked a lot of the games as the character. Stripes worked a lot of the games as the character solo, and that was always very interesting. You can't replace a character or somebody who's been doing that for so long. That is the best. So there's a lot of pressure. I was balancing that and football at the same time. So I'd literally play a game and be like, don't get hurt. I got the role, and like I had one more football game, and I'm like, if I get hurt, I'm going to lose this Stripes gig, and it's going to be bad, you know? Great experience, man. I'm happy that I didn't go down the mascot stream full time. The world I work in now would have never happened. But yeah, it was just being a mascot is something unique, and it's an experience on its own when you're at a professional level. Nobody understands unless they've been in the suit. You know, the question's like, is it hot in there? Yes, it's hot. Yes, I have sweat in my eyes. Yes, my eyes are burning. Yes, I can't breathe sometimes. Yes, some lady just grabbed my ass. Yes, some dude just sat me for fun. Yes, somebody just choked me because they're drunk and don't understand their boundaries. Like, but yes, I've made people smile. Yes, I've been in a room with like terminally ill children and had a moment. These are things that you you get to be a part of people's lives. You're a cartoon character and you have to make that special. That's one thing I'll never forget. And whenever I do have to put on a suit, I always do it at the highest possible level because I expect good things from mascots because I've been in their shoes and you can't make excuses to me because I'm like, okay, yeah, like I've been there. So work with me, bro. Anyways, so that's kind of that story.
That's awesome, man. Going back to Stripes, that was a big role to take on because you're, at least for the season, you're replacing arguably the greatest mascot of all time. So how did you make that role your own without falling into that shadow? How did you embrace it and really make it unique to you? So it's not like you're just, oh, it's a carbon copy of the Raptor.
It starts with being a performer, but also starts with respect. You have to know your boundaries and also know not to emulate what the original guy has been doing. Because the character was related, you need to have some characteristics. So what I actually did was I watched a lot of YouTube videos of the Raptor over the years, everything and anything, inflatable, non-inflatable. And then I watched other NBA mascots and looked and saw what they did that was successful. Right. And then I actually watched music videos, soul, really? Funk, dances. Yeah, dance. I wanted to try to build a character and I was trying to understand how I can make this different. Nice. Well, the character was younger. With youth comes more energy. So pretty much my interpretation of Stripes was the hyper younger brother who would climb in the upper bowl over top fans and railings and give people high fives. And like if he saw somebody, he'd give them like a smack with his tail, just all sorts of things. But it was like a lot of high energy. The Raptor is very not calculated, but like extremely amazing. Like the crowd work that guy does, everything. You can't compete with that. You cannot. So you have to do your own thing. You got to do your little mascot tactics here and there. But I can't do backflips. I can't dance the way that guy can't dance. I don't think the way that person thinks in that moment. Yeah. I'm not as fast as him. It comes with experience, but he is the best. And so I always went on the line of I'm going to be the hyper younger brother was my approach. And that was it. Yeah. That was my character. And I love James Brown, and James Brown influenced my dance style on the court when I was doing it. How many years ago now? 6 or whatever.
You were talking about how you're glad you didn't go down the mascot route because it led to the path that you're on now. But in an alternate universe, if you had gone down that route, you wouldn't be in Saskatchewan right now. You'd be somewhere in Texas.
You remember a lot, eh? It's good. I think any of us, when we finish, can understand that when we finish university, you want to like get a full-time job. I knew the Stripes thing wasn't going to be a full-time gig. I knew that wasn't going to happen. It was something I definitely talked about because I thought it was a unique opportunity, but it was a one-off. And now Stripes in the D League, which is amazing. It's so cool to see a character you got to be a part of, even though it's not you. It's you have to have put a little bit of your soul into it. So I was applying for jobs and I saw this job in the NBA. It was associate creative entertainment with the San Antonio Spurs, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to apply. It was kind of like being a backup mascot to their mascot because they have a huge mascot program in Texas. Everything's bigger and better, as they say, right? And so I applied, and literally like 2 days later, I get a phone call. Everything's like within 2 days. I get a phone call and they say they want me to send a video of my stuff from The Rock and whatever. So I found some stuff. I sent it to them, a little quick sizzle. And they're like, cool, want to fly you down for an interview? I'm like, okay. So I go down for the interview. I brought them ketchup chips and all dressed chips because I just wanted to bring something Canadian. Even if I didn't get the job, at least it was something that I got to make an impression on Canadians. That's my biggest thing. We're with a lot of Americans now, and I want to make us look good in their eyes. And I crushed it, and I got the job. But the thing is, the visa process didn't work out. There really was no proper visa for me. And although I had a pre-approved visa, just you went to the border, everything's packed, your stuff's ready to go, and they denied me at the border with a pre-approved visa. So the biggest learning experience to that was if anybody ever gets a job in the States, ever in sports in particular, hire a Canadian immigration lawyer and make sure you have your rights known, because for like 3.5 years, every time I went through the border, I would get stopped into secondary and have to have my job contract to show I'm going for travel and this is actually what I do, and like just to be safe. I don't have that issue anymore because I don't go to the United States for work. I go there for travel and tourism. Well, not right now, but yeah.
That story that you told me was one of those ones that always resonated because I remember one night after running into you at Second City, both did our classes there. That itself is another story in its own. I think we went out for dinner after, and then I remember you told me that story because I had recently had the exact same thing happen to me when I was supposed to move to Chicago. Oh, I'm not moving anymore. You had this look on your face where I didn't realize at the time, but you was like, oh shit, this happened to him too. Little did I know when you told me the story, it's like, yo man, exact same thing happened to me. I was like, oh shit. But I can confidently say for the both of us that not working out led to so much better things for the both of us. It's crazy how the universe tends to unfold as it should.
The saying I hate the most but always remains to be true is everything happens for a reason. I landed on my feet. I saw this job. It was mascot appearance coordinator for the Pan Am Games, which ended up being the coordinator of the brand team pretty much. I ended up working the Pan Am Games for 9 months, and I got to work on the opening closing ceremonies and produce our pre-show with producers from LA. And I worked with a lady with Marcy who works on the Grammys. Like You just get all these experiences, and that's what got me the job at the Raptors in a full-time
Yep.
role. It all like layer cakes together. It's just like shit. You just keep adding your ingredients and you keep filling it up and you keep getting to make that final product. And so that's kind of what happened there. And it was the greatest blessing in disguise, honestly.
Yeah. When you became the coordinator for the Raptors, that job interview, you showed exactly why you were the man for the job, because they asked you to come up with an idea. And the most people, they came out with like one. How many did you come up with?
You have a memory, bro. We were asked to do one video board or one on-court promotion, but if there's anything I've ever learned from doing what we do in game presentation is when you come with one thing, if they've tried that thing and you don't know about it and it doesn't work, immediately you're done. You don't go into a situation without having ammo locked and loaded. I came with 6 ideas. 6 different ideas. Why 6, you ask? Well, I thought of 3 that they can do on court. I thought of 3 they can do on the video board. What I did was I cut up into pieces and I wrote a script and I made them play a game with me. So it was the HR person and Anton, and I made them play. And I just went next level. And I was asked the question, why did you bring 6 ideas when we asked you about 1? And I said, what if I only came with 1 and you guys knew it didn't work? I need you to know that I'm going to give you 50 to 60 ideas and you could shoot me down all of them. I said, my goal today is that one portion, one small piece, maybe not the whole game, one piece of this enlightens something else. That's my job. As a coordinator, you have to be the glue. You have to be the one who can keep things together, because there's a lot of other bigger things that are going on above you that you don't even know about. But you need to be the person that can toss ideas, blue sky things. And it's hard. It's hard, and I've learned a lot through the years, but that was one thing I did, and I think that's probably why I did get that job. And there's a lot of great people who also applied for it. I learned a lot that first year. It was a big, big learning year for me.
That story, and from my experience working with you, it proved that you're an innovator. Not just everything in terms of that, but how you approach game presentation. It's ultimately why you're in the position why you're in now. So what's your creative thought process behind it when you're coming up with all these different ideas? You know, you can come out with 1, but the fact that you came out with 6, like, that's bold.
Well, you got to look and see, what do fans like? What music do you listen to? What do you vibe with? What gets you going? You have to look at the fans who are there. I look at fans, there's 2 kinds of fans. You got my mom, who doesn't know anything about the game. She's not there for the game. She's there for the experience. She wants to see the dancers. She wants to hear the music. She wants to be a part of community, cheering for the team when things go wrong, like, even if they don't understand what's fully happening. And then you have the second fan who's there for the game. They just want to watch the game. It's all about the game. And then those fans might be the ones who are like, oh, like, that's kind of a funny video. I like that. But they're more focused on the game and the stats. So I use my mom as an example, but generally you have somebody who doesn't understand the game but wants an experience. And then generally you have somebody who wants just the sport. Then there's also the people right in the middle.
Yeah.
My job is to engage those people. My job is to create things that will make them remember, laugh, have fun. And one thing I definitely learned at Raptors, and shout out to Anton, because he brought me along the whole process. He hired me in every aspect. He trusted me through everything. Was he expected perfection. I appreciate that more than ever now in being in the role I'm in, because you need to expect that. You need to hold yourself to a higher standard if you want to be known to be successful, to put a good show together. So for me, I look at both those fans and I say, okay, here's our partner. Here's what they want. Here's what they're thinking. 3-stage approach. How do I make this work for the fan? Because if the fan doesn't engage with it, it doesn't do anything for our brand. So it's fan, brand. So how is it on brand? How does it align with what we're doing? Raptors, very like cultural diversity, very, very city-like, but also it's kind of a movement in itself, the brand, very bold. And then you have the partner. So fan, how does the fan experience it? Is it positive? Does the fan want to engage? Are they excited? Are we getting a loud response? Are we not getting a loud response? Are people not really paying attention? 2 is the brand. How does it align with our brand, that idea? And lastly, how do we get our partner on board so they also reap the benefits? My creative process is that, and I just like coming up with funny ideas. You see a lot of people across sport, and I'm maybe not the most innovative, but I try to think the most outside the box sometimes. And you talk and you learn and you best practice chat and you see what other people are doing, and then you make it work for your market. Some things you can create are original that work in Saskatchewan would never work in Toronto, ever. It's about finding that balance. So could I take things from the Raptors to Sask? Yeah, for sure. But if we do the exact same thing, it's not going to work. Video I ran at Raptors there, people might look at it and be like, what is this? What is you think I'm in the big smoke or something? Like, that's where, that's kind of where things get a little interesting, right?
I feel like that's one of the biggest strengths that you could have, because you really have a pulse on your environment, but also in terms of like what works for different events. Obviously, a Raptors game and a Roughriders game, it's like night and day. You can't apply one thing to the other. It's all about your fan base.
I like rap. I like hip hop. I like R&B. I like all that stuff. But particular Raptors games, we're looking for that one rap track, even a rock track, or that one mashup that can bring people authentically, organically, to their feet and excited. man. And that's the things I have to look for constantly. Biggest challenge is music, and music can create moments for fans. A music selection, it's a simple song or a simple song in a board saying noise. Even if you don't have a noise, that's the one thing I learned from Saskatchewan. One game, one of my first games, I'm like, give me Right Here, Right Now. And it was like, and we needed a big stop on defense. And I'm like, okay, give me defense, guys. Give me defense on the boards. And they didn't hit defense, but our fans naturally got up and started like, that stuff. It just gives you goosebumps because it's like, yes, like perfect. Don't need to force things down people's throats. You just want to create a community reaction.
It's like sports in the sense where it unifies and connects people. So the fact that you're able to take that and apply it to sports as well, that's something that really brings the fans together.
The NBA is really good at, they look at things in a very focused scope. So you have your sponsor activations, your player integration, your player engagement, your music, your halftimes, your fan features, and they bucket all these things together. That's kind of how they elevate their games. That's how they judge one another. Peers need to give you feedback. I reach out to a bunch of NFL and NBA teams, and I'm like, here's our full game record. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. And then you get that, and you're like, okay, this is good. Like, we're doing this right, but this needs to get better. That's what we do. We're creative types. We need to look past just ourselves, you know?
That's definitely one of the biggest things. You have to check your ego out the door because there are some things that you think are like brilliant, but they'll get shot down, and you have to understand exactly why. But one of the perks, but also sometimes downfalls of working in game presentation is you get to spend a decent amount of time with the players on the team, infrequently, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
Whether it's getting Kawhi Leonard to tell dad jokes or dealing with the repercussions of interrupting Kyle Lowry's pregame ritual. What would you say is your most memorable player experience in all your years?
Oh, man. Oh, be careful what I say here. There's a couple. When I was working with the Raptors in a mascot capacity as a performer, I did this thing with like Landry Fields, Steve Novak. We just did this thing at the Sick Kids Hospital. We just had a moment like with a kid. And I wasn't myself, but it was just really special. And it's a photo that I have that I'll never forget. I'm picking my nose as the mascot because it just has like a little hole in the nose. And this kid can't speak. He's not verbal. And he starts picking my nose. And then the parents started crying. And they're like, he's interacting. Like, it was like, and those guys were there, and it was just really special. We're gonna go funny for a second. So media days mean like you get the players in the rooms and they just go through a cycle. And honestly, like, these guys, they're just doing their job. They don't want you to be like, oh my god, Fred VanVleet, oh my god. I'm just like trying to get them to be like, hey man, we're just gonna have some fun with you, and then you get the hell out of here. Last media day, we were in the wives' room, the Air Canada Center, and that was where we were shooting. And our door got locked, and it was Fred VanVleet, and he was locked in the room, sitting right beside me, getting agitated. He was locked in the room, and I was agitated. We couldn't do anything, so we had to call security and open the door. And he was just like, "You got kidding me?" I just remember like a week later, I saw him in the hallway. He's like, "Man, I'm happy I'm not getting locked in rooms with you anymore." And I'm like, cool. And I just laughed. And he's a really nice guy. Like, I was in the grocery store after our first media day, and he like said hello to me. And I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Fred?" I mean, he said hello to me. The players on the team right now that I got a chance to talk to, really nice guys. Kawhi came down, thus I'm kind of was the lead voice on that media day, but I was leading a couple segments that were more playful. We know that Kawhi keeps to himself, and I was like, you know what? What's the easiest thing for him to do to make him feel comfortable? Read off a teleprompter and do dad jokes. If he's not showing a lot of expression or emotion, at least it's funny. We got him to do dad jokes, and it was so funny. He was hilarious, and he was laughing at his jokes too.
What's the first thing an elf learns in school? The alphabet.
It's just like people have comfort levels, right? So Kawhi was pretty chill. We did this jukebox jams with the players. Was watching Sportsnet things to learn more about the players because I was like digging as hard in as I could because we really don't know much. Like, we don't get to spend a lot of time. It's just usually once or twice a year, and it's like an in and out. Our job is not to be a buddy of theirs. It's just to be professional strictly, but also like, what's up, man? Like, we're just doing this. Like, if we show you this and let us know what you're comfortable with, you're not. They appreciate that because we're not demanding them to do things. Let's get back on track. We did that jukebox jams, and Kyle and all the guys like were lip singing to My Girl because I found that it was his favorite karaoke track, and the whole team knew that it was his favorite track. And when we were playing it, the fact we knew that without having to ask was like a huge bonus for the team, and they were willing to play along. Now, first home opener last year of 18 or 19 was it? I can't remember anymore. October of 18 or whatever it was.
Never forget that day.
we have a room that we were always in, and it was connected to the laundry room. We have an interactive team and a game crew that are excited people. We do, interactive games, get people warm, because that's just something I brought in to help with team building. I wanted to continue to see our team come together, but I wanted the team to have more of a we approach. Like, we can do this together. We can have some fun together on this. So we did a game, and then everybody got really excited, and then I get team ops comes over, and because we're attached to the laundry room, that's typically where Kyle would go for the games and be in his peaceful space. And I totally respect that. And then he's like, this is the last time you're coming with me. And I'm like, okay. And then he walked me right over to Kyle Lowry, and he's like, you go talk to him. Kyle's just like, dude, what the hell? Why is it so noisy all the time? I think it's because there's some past where we've been noisy and it didn't matter. But he's like, what the hell was that screaming about? And I'm like, I'm sorry, Kyle. You're totally right, man. We understand and respect this is your space and this is your time. You're getting ready for a game. And I appreciate you. We just got some folks who are excited about the home opener, and I apologize for this. And he just looks at me. He's like, well, tell him not to be so damn excited in that room. He's like, I get it. I know, Kyle, man, apologize. I mean, I get this is where I told him, I know you come here to chill. I appreciate, I'm sorry. I can't control their voices, but we'll come up with a better solution. And then he's just like, man, I really appreciate you. Thanks. It's all good. I'm like, all right. And then I left, and I actually got some support from our team that should have never even happened to me, because I was put in a pretty awkward position there. But
of course,
how do you handle things like that? Even though that happened, that actually taught me a good lesson. Mm-hmm. How do you handle yourself in a moment of being uncomfortable? Professional, you smile, you manage through it, you listen, you hear, and you adjust. And you're talking to your team's biggest star. So if I gave him attitude, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be there tomorrow. And I was told I handled it very well. So I was happy with myself, because I wasn't mad or anything. I was just like, all right, it is what it is. And I kind of let the people know that it could be an issue and was forthcoming. You guys change rooms now. So, and now you guys do breakdowns as a group and entertainment squads. And I'm like, okay, cool. At least I was a trigger of that. That's team. That's family. That's what you need. Yeah. And so I'm happy I got to be a starting point for that. But then having somebody else come in and do their thing too, it's great to watch from a distance. Honestly, it's exciting.
And honestly, that's the reason why out of all the jobs I've ever worked, the job at the Raptors is my favorite job of all time, strictly because of the culture you created. Every game I came into work, it's like I was ready to run through a brick wall for you, because I was like, yo, let's go. You really made us feel like a team. There's a reason why the Raptors have the greatest home court advantage in the NBA. What made you want to create that team culture, that environment? Did any of it come from your experiences on a team yourself playing football, or?
Honestly, I was in your shoes before, where I was on that team, and there would just be, whether it was age discrepancy, meaning I was being the youngest on that team my first year, I wanted to create a space where we had people who actually cared about having fun, about the impact they could have. Realistically, you get a bunch of high energy, big personality people, and you tell them, okay, here is where we are. This is your stage. Here's what we need you to do, and here's why. You get a Let's Go Raptors chant organically started. That spreads. It's like wildfires. You set the match, and then it burns. That burns to the energy in the crowd. On a Wednesday game where it's a school night, you may get a loud couple crazy sections, but when you get to the middles of the upper bowl, they're kind of dead. I know that. So what we did was, after my first couple years, I'm like, okay, there's a couple people that we just need to refresh. And so we did that, and we brought in some new faces like yourself and some others that have an acting background, that comedians, that are singers, that are performers, that are even just big personalities that are in sports and want to get a foot in the door. And that was my focus. I said, this is what we're going to target now. We're going to target people who are performers, who want to make a name for themselves, that want to build a brand for themselves, but also represent the Raptors and represent creating a fun atmosphere for our fans. So for me, I took Second City courses because I wanted to be more creative and break down some lack of creativity. Well, also I took a few improv levels. And each time I came back from improv, I'm like, you know what? If we did this as a group, this would be huge. Every day we come home from a job or whatever, or a long day at school, or maybe your girlfriend broke up with you, bad something bad happened. You need an outlet, and you need to know you have a supporting cast around you. If you can go to a workplace and have a supporting cast around you where you can be silly as you want and nobody's going to judge you, people are going to laugh with you, you're going to do fun stuff together, and you can be as creative as you want within the rules, as you're going to feel empowered to be there and excited to be there. We're asking you to make people cheer, chant, and throw things out and get people hyped. It is the funnest job ever. So if you can't do that, I've seen people who don't know how to throw a t-shirt. They're like, oh, okay. Get people going, man. People want that thing. When you get people like yourself and other folks in a circle and you make them say stupid things as an improv game, then you see people get comfortable. What I noticed, I tried it once and then I was like, oh, there's some uncomfortable people. I can tell who doesn't like who. And then I'm like, okay, we're going to keep doing it. And then we started doing new games. And then we brought in the family portion where Amelia's like, I want to do a game and tell people pregnant. That's when the family piece starts coming. It becomes a ritual, right? For the group to put everything aside and just be fun and have fun. And so that that's where me as a leader to say, how can I empower my people, our people, to have fun, to feel empowered when they're at work, to also be held accountable, but make it ultra clear. You know, I think everything I always, whenever there's an issue, I was very clear with everybody. I'm like, this is my expectation. This is our expectation. If you break that expectation, we're pretty flexible, but we don't want problems. So my leadership style is all about high energy, upbeat attitude, and put effort. If you don't put effort, you can't teach effort. Get out, beat it. Like, honestly, you give me attitude, beat it. That's not the way it works. I don't give you attitude. I respect my staff unless they've done something wrong, and they got to be held accountable. But the flip side is same here. If I do something wrong, I should be held accountable. At the end of the day, for me, it's about my staff feeling good. I want you guys to go out after the game and have a drink. Like, that's what we do in this event world. You work your butt off, you sweat, you lose your voice because you've been cheering all day because little red section, she wasn't yelling loud enough, the blue section was louder. These are the fun things you'll remember forever, and the relationships you built through that. So, and when you're with that many different people, you get to see how people react, and that is the best teacher to what I do.
I don't know if you know this, but I think your legacy for that defines the crew at the moment, because everything that you've talked about now, it's stuck to this day where we still do all of that stuff and that family unity and everything. I don't know what it was like before all of that. I don't know what like the team culture was like, but it's one of those environments where they're excited to come into work, even though it's like a job. It's kind of our release from everything else going on. So it's great.
It's where you can come, have a great time, and make a difference, but also like be amongst friends. Nobody has to always get along. The years past, we had some bad apples, and when there is a cancer, if you don't get rid of the cancer, it spreads. By cancer, I'm not saying individually one person. I'm talking about where we were at. Like, we needed more energy in that group, and so we brought in more energy. We expanded our roster. We, looked for different things. I know I'm speaking on behalf of the Raptors right now. I'm not trying to. I'm just talking about my approach. Of course. I think there's a lot of learnings I have from Raptors, and I will be forever grateful. And who knows, maybe one day I'll be able to work for MLSE again in some sort of capacity. But right now where I'm at with the Roughriders, it's been a blessing, man. Honestly, it's a community-owned team. I'm a big community guy. We get millions of dollars, create programs for people that rely on us. So right now is tough because of COVID, but we'll be back, and we're going to have games, and life's going to be good again. And you're going to be running around a Raptors game, and I'll be watching on my league pass being like, what are they doing today? But like, overall, I think when you look at the grand scheme of how the world is right now, I made the right decision going to Saskatchewan because like I've learned so much that I would have never ever learned at Raptors. Of course. But the base that Anton gave me, I'm giving Anton all the credit here because he deserves it. The base that guy gave me, he kind of shaped me and he pushed me. So it's good. I take a lot of learnings from him. We're defined by our mentors. Those are the ones that help shape us into what we are. So we're going to shift into this segment I like to call Analyze This. Basically, I did a deep dive of your social media and I pulled some photos that I feel could require some context. So basically, I'll be pulling them up one at a time, and you can just tell me the story behind them. Okay. Wow. This is great. Go hit me. I hope there's nothing. All right, you ready? I hope there's nothing where I'm passed out in a ditch or something. I'm nothing kidding. Of that. You're not going to find that. Trust me. It never have ever. All right. Ready for the first one? Yeah, hit me. All right. Oh, Emmitt. So I was invited from my friend who I worked at Pan Am, Avish Sood. You might know him. He's a great guy, very connected in the sports world with lots of people. He invited me to an NFL event. I actually knew some people who were working the event too. And pretty much it was Emmitt Smith and Jerome Bettis were there. And I was able to get a picture with them. And it was pretty awesome. I said to Emmitt Smith, how are you feeling after running all those yards? And he was like, man, I'm old, but my head's still shiny. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, and you can still dance. He's like, man, my feet are nice. And then that was then the conversation. So then we got a photo. And then with Jerome Bettis, I said, I'm happy you didn't pile drive me over. I was a linebacker. And he's like, I still could pile drive you over. I could still fuck you. So that was really cool for me. Yeah, that was an awesome one. And I'm not a Bills fan, for the record. Uh-oh, what's the next one? That was easy. That was an easy one. Yeah, this is where we start to get a little juicy here. Kinda. Not really. I don't know. Depends on your definition of juicy. But yeah, here's the next one. This is MC Russ right here. I don't know. I'm like halfway talking. Look like I'm slurring. I'm not drunk here. I'm pretty sober, actually. This is at one of my best friend's weddings. I wasn't the best man, but I was the MC. This was in, oh God, what year was that? I think it was like 4 years ago. And pretty much what I've turned into for my friends is the MC for weddings. I've been told I'm going to MC weddings. I've been told that if they need an MC, they're going to call me. I'm pretty sure the joke I was saying here was my friend's mom was just talking about how he would always watch High School Musical and and dance in his room when he was younger, like teenager, and nobody knew about it. So I went up there and I looked at him and I said, Brandon, I'm looking at him right now and I'm saying, Brandon, we're all in this together. And that was it. You know, High School Musical. Yeah. And everybody kind of get cracked up and giggled. And it was just perfect timing. As an MC, you got to be like sharp and witty and be on the spot. I did a wedding for my other friend and they're talking about a story about lard. So this girl's jokes weren't landing at all. It was all about lard at the restaurant. And I'm like, oh my God, this is brutal. So I get up there. I'm like, all right, thanks, whatever her name was. I'm like, thanks, Serena. That made me laugh out loud. And then everybody started laughing, right? And like just like stupid shit like that. So MC Russ, I've MC'd lots of events, weddings, corporate, charity, bar mitzvahs where I have to dance with dancers and stuff. So that's a snippet of that. And now I host some of our events in Saskatchewan if need be. Know how to be on a microphone sometimes.
All right, ready for the next one?
Oh.
Final photo.
My last day. That was my last Raptors game where I actually was working. I think it was Nelson or one of them said they'll take some photos for me. And I love that suit. And that was just after I count down Jubes to run the flag. And I knew the camera was there and I just made a stupid face because that's the faces I'd always make after I'd be like, ooh, that looks good. That's a moment I won't forget. Like, it was so much fun. Like, kind of a capture of history right there for me. During Remembrance Day, we did a piece in there. And if there's anything to sum up my Raptors career, it's exactly that. It's suited and booted and goofy. Suited, booted, and goofy. When you do this job and you learn at first, you're a little stressed because it's so high energy. When you get comfortable, man, it just turns into a blast. Game days are what I live for, and that is a great picture of explaining how I live for game days right there.
I had a feeling this would be the perfect one to cap it off with. So
yep. There's been some funny moments, man, in Raptors time. My first shift, I'll never forget, I was on the interactive team, and I'm upstairs doing a T-shirt toss, and I'm fearless, man. I'm 17-year-old or whatever it was, and I'm like, I've been up this crowd, and all of a sudden I feel my ass get smacked, like hard. And I'm like, that must be some woman. I wasn't even paying attention. You know, I'm a footballer. You get your butt smacked or like whatever.
Yeah.
I look around, and it's this guy with huge glasses, and he's just like, and I'm like, oh, dear God. I was like, so my first shift at Raptors, I definitely was being sexually assaulted. So,
oh, my God.
Yeah. And like the last one, he's like, he grabbed and I like ran away. I'm like, this is scary. That was my first ever shift. Just like wearing those basketball backpacks. My first ever shift wearing basketball backpacks and into a ball in my face.
Oh, boy.
So when people like, when I would schedule people for the basketball backpacks, they're like, oh, I don't want to do it. I'm like, I get it, but you got to do it. I get it. You're going to do it. That person's going to do it. We're all going to do it. We're a team here, people. There's some interesting stuff that people have told me as a mascot for The Rock particularly. Like one lady grabbed my crotch and said she's going to see me and kick her husband out of her bedroom and invite me in or something. And I'm like,
whoa.
Yeah, my butt's been grabbed. Jewels have been grabbed. Many times.
Oh,
mainly
man.
at Rock games. Yeah, like there has been so much. I remember I worked for the Blue Jays one year. I was a mascot handler. I was younger. This was my second year university, I think. This was another job I was doing. Alex Rodriguez. And we have a mascot, a junior mascot called Junior. It's Ace and Junior. And Junior was somebody who had dwarf syndrome. Like very, very funny guy. So funny. And he takes his head off and like where we would take a break would be kind of by the visitors bullpen where they go to the back to the shower space. Alex Rodriguez walks over, and this is not a funny story, by the way. So Alex Rodriguez tells the guy like, oh, hey buddy, do you need an ice cream? And laughs as he walks by. And I'm like,
oh my God.
So A-Rod, man, like, come on, A-Rod. Come on, man. There's just all these weird stories I have. We would have to work with celebrities at Raptors games. You know, Shawn Mendes would come in, or rest in peace, Gordon Downey, and you'd have to like preamble them being like, here's what we're doing. Just want to make sure you're comfortable. They have a VIP team taking care of them. Two of my favorite experiences, one was with Laurence Fishburne or Morpheus. He was just chatting with me while I was in the suit, and he was like having a full-on conversation with me, asking me where I'm from, how long I've been doing it. And then I said to him, I was joking around, like, if I brought out a pill, would you take the blue or the red? And he just started laughing and hysterically. And then that was the end of the conversation. And at the end of the game, he like came and tapped me and said, good job tonight. And I'm like, it was kind of cool. But the nicest celebrity I've met is Shawn Mendes. He was with his buddies at a game. We were showing a thing of him on the board. I think it was my last year, or my second last year. And like, I'm like, hey, Shawn, what's going on, man? Like, I can tell you didn't want to talk to me because he's like, yeah, okay, yep. I'm like, hey, Raptors coming by. He's got a jersey for you. We're going to show a thing on the video. We're going to have you on the video board. You cool with that? He's like, yeah, man, that's super cool. Thanks for letting me know. Because he knew I was like, I bent down. I'm like, I'm not trying to cause tension. Banged it off for him. It happened. He turned super red because we played something big, and it was around the time like one of his music videos is he was like completely shirtless, so we couldn't use that one. I remember sitting there being like, I can't believe they've done this track. All of his friends are like in that video, so they're all laughing too. Guy comes up to me at the end of the game. He's like, hey, and like taps me on the back of my shoulder. He's like, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for that. That was so nice of you. It's like, I appreciate you letting me know when it was happening. Like, it's nice for me to know that. Some people don't do that. And he just left.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That's super nice.
Most celebrities, you shake their hand and say, kill, we're doing this, bye, and you never see them again.
Yeah.
He actually had the audacity to come to me when I was like, my back was turned, I was doing something else, and stop me and say thank you, which was really cool. And then like I met Russell Peters once, and I was like, my name's Russell, I do a good impression of you, and he's like, cool, tell me something I don't know. And then he walked away, and I'm like, damn it.
Oh my goodness.
Like, come on, Russell Peters. You're my guy, bro. You're my high school idol because you made the name Russell Cool in high school for me, you know? When I was at NBA All-Star in 2018, one of my big things was I was helping with the celebrity game, and I was one of our key hosts, and I had to go up to the celebrities and be like, hey, how you doing? We want to do a quick interview. And so I had to go to Jamie Foxx. They're like, hey, Russ, can you get somebody? I'm like, cool. Jamie Foxx is right there. I'm like, hey, Jamie, can you get an interview? And Jamie Foxx is like, you're going to interview me? It's like, you're interviewing me right now? Like, we're interviewing you interview me right now? I'm like, well, she's going to interview you. She's like, no, but I want to interview with you. What do you mean? Like, he was having fun with me. And I'm like, he's just being a character because that's what he's known for as, like, around anything. We're just, like, going back and forth. I'm like, yo, Jamie, like, we're going to ask you about your life, like, what your tattoo looks like. And he's just like, you're not asking me those questions. I'm like, no. He's like, I know you're not, but I like your style. You're playing with me. You're playing with me. And I'm like... He's like, I'm not doing no interview. I'm not doing this shit. And he's like, oh, she's good looking. Never mind you. Like, it was just kind of funny. And I'm just like, wow, okay, Jamie Foxx. And then Andre DeGrasse was there too. And I'm like, what's up, Andre? Like, I'm from the Raptors, from Toronto. Like, just wonder if we can get an interview with you. I'm not trying to be that guy. He's like, bro, you from Toronto? Where you from? Whereabouts you at, man? Like, and we just chatted. I was doing that and also preparing for like promos at the same time. Like, we had a game in Vancouver my last year. Usually it's Josh and I would go out, me and like Kat and the Raptor. And like the whole game, I had a host. I had a promo team that was full of volunteers. I had my headset in with Kiri Anton, and then I had a promo team headset with like guys. I'm like, are you guys upstairs with the t-shirt tosses? And they're like, no. And I'm like, you got 2 minutes. You got to get there. I'm just like, oh my God. And it's like, Russ, you got to make sure that this person's over by Dr. J real soon. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see Dr. J. I'm like, hey, Dr. J, how you doing? We're going to just grab you, put you right here, here, and here. Kat, you're going to go here, and we're good. And then I'm at the same time like, you guys have the t-shirts ready? Like, it just taught me to multitask so much. Raptor's like, I need a flag. And I'm like, oh, so I sprint, grab the flag, give him the flag, sprint back, get my cue, and I'm like, 3, 2, 1, go. And dude, I live for this shit. I live for it. If you can't live for stuff like that and you don't like being under pressure, don't work in sports. Like, we do things on the fly in Saskatchewan. When a ref calls a holding penalty on us, it's the second time they call a penalty. I play video. What you talking about, Willis? Gary Coleman?
Yeah, different strokes.
Yeah, thank you. We had an 80s game. It was 80s themed. I brought in like He-Man clips. So whenever we made a huge run and our running back would buck somebody, it'd be like, I have the power. Whenever the refs called a holding penalty or whatever on us, I would have, what you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? And so fans loved it so much. That's what we started doing. I feel like if you know me, you understand me with this. Humor is essential in what we do because you need to make people laugh. You need to make people feel. Sport events bring people together, whether they're gender, creed, race, sexuality, whatever it might be. And it's one place that you can feel community. We need to highlight those moments that first responders are saving lives. We need to highlight those funny videos of our players doing funny things. We need to come with really unique opportunities for our fans to win $1,000 prizes or a brand new Cadillac car or things like that are engaging, entertaining, and exciting. And then we also have to feature our fans in ways that are unique and new, and also create moments that they're going to go home and talk about. Be like, remember that Riders game when they did the meme cam and then at the end that guy like proposed to her? Wasn't that so neat? And we did like a Rider meme cam. And the day before, a lady across the street's like, my son wants to get engaged at a Rider game. I'm like, I got the perfect idea. We have this in the bank. We're going to go from pre-tape to live. It says, the face you make when you ask, will you marry me? And he gets on a knee and goes like that. And everybody's like, oh. Like, you get that like breath of like, is this really happening right now?
Yeah.
And then she goes, and she says yes, and then we put it race you make when she says yes. Like, it's just finding unique ways. So my biggest focus is humor, passion, and also always being flexible. You have to be flexible, and you have to keep things organic. You can't force things down people's throats. There's things we have to sell in partnerships that we don't necessarily agree with, but if we can come with programming that delivers back to the fan who's in the stadium, we're doing something right. Luckily in Rough Rider land, we sell out the stadium. This year, we want to get back to that, but this year might not be any fans, so we'll see.
It's a testament to those 3 pillars that you said. It makes me think of this quote that, I live by. People don't always remember what you say, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. You were put on this planet to do what you do. It shows in your work and it shows in everything that you've done. We haven't really talked about the origin story too much in depth, but we'll go into it now. Saskatchewan took notice, and that's when they essentially recruited you and poached you from Toronto. Obviously, I know the reasons why you took the job, because a lot of people, people listening, they'd be like, you left the Raptors to go to the Roughriders? It's like, what? Why? I'll let you explain it.
I think when you get somewhere and you realize that you've done a lot of cool things and you wanted to keep growing, I didn't have any plans to leave the Raptors. Of course not. I was dedicated. I love my job there. I love the people I worked with. But it gets to a point where you need to grow, and this was an opportunity of growth that I wanted and I was ready for, but the opportunity wasn't there yet with the Raptors, which is totally fine. Everything takes time, and you got to respect that. And so the Roughriders reached out to me and let me know they had this job opening, and they looked at my resume and they wanted to have a chat. And I said, okay, yeah, let's have a chat. I'm totally open for that. Like, you know, you can't just say no because of location. You have to dive in. And I love what I do. So I'm like, okay, yeah. Well, the chat ended up was supposed to be an informal chat, turned into a very formal chat because we got along so well.
Mm-hmm.
And the HR director, Kim, and I literally just went off and had a great chat about everything I've done. And I don't know, I was riffing of like just pulling things that I've done in the past, like out of different, I'm like, I did this at Pan Am, I did this here, and I did, like, here's kind of how I approach this, and like, here's what I'm doing at Raptors, and here's what and then it was just like, okay, what's your salary expectation? And I'm like, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, I thought this was an informal chat. And so it's not about money or anything. It was just, that was just where I knew things were getting serious.
Yeah.
And then within a few days, I was in Regina interviewing for the job, just talking about my philosophy, like kind of how I would approach things, and, you know, understanding that it's an older fan base, that Raptors may be very, like, you know, let's just use the word, very rap heavy, with Rough Riders, very country rock. So like a big difference, diversity within, from a diverse city like Toronto to a very nice mix in Regina as well, but just a little different city to more, not rural, it's still city, but anyways. Yeah, and I got a job offer a few days later when I was back in Toronto, and it was from a coordinator to a director role, which is my job at Raptors. There was a lot of things I did I looked at myself as I need to be a manager. So when I was managing you guys, when I was creating content, I was looking at myself as a manager. I didn't need to have the title as a manager. I knew that I was working toward being more than that. And so for me, because I was already managing enough with Raptors in a way, which without the title, which you don't need the title, just because you don't have the title of manager doesn't mean that's what you're doing. So that was pretty much what I was doing, respectfully. And so it showed through my knowledge with them. And then they offered me that job as a director. And when you're a young guy like me, I was 27 at the time, and you get an opportunity like that, and it's a great career builder, it's a learning opportunity and a life changer, to be completely frank. You're going to the most successful Canadian Football League franchise. You're going to a very respected Canadian franchise. In 2017, it was the third most respected Canadian sports brand in Canada. You're going to a very respectable place, a place that cares so much about their team, and it's a not-for-profit, which is exciting for me because I'm a football guy. I want to give back. I coach football there. Like, I try to dive into the community. And so you take the job, and I left, and I remember my exit interview with Raptors, I sat there and looked at Kiri and Anton, and I said, both my managers, for those who are watching, and it was hard, man. Like, I was there for 11 years. It was my 11th season. I started as a baby, and then my career growth had gone from 0 to 100 like that overnight. It was a lot of growing up really fast for me, and that's why I respect Anton so much more now, on top of what I already respect, because like the things that he does and how he approaches things are just, those are the types of things that we have to deal with at this level. And so I remember sitting in that exit interview being like, I'm leaving you guys. I know it's November. I know we're 8 games in or whatever games in. I apologize. This wasn't my plan, but it's something that I cannot not do. It's a great opportunity for me. It's an opportunity for me to grow. And I told them, frankly, like, you know, I wanted to do more things here, but I wasn't getting the opportunity just yet. I think with time, you know, you need to do what's best for you. And that was the perfect timing. I think I told them that. And then I said, well, you just watch, you guys are going to win an NBA championship. I'm going to be kicking myself in June. I told them that word for word. And that's what happened. We have one of the nicest outdoor stadiums in the country. We have the biggest outdoor video board in the country in Mosaic Stadium. It's 3 years old now. It is bigger than an NBA regulation basketball court, which we showed when we did a Jurassic Park in Regina. The first one we did, I actually was at Game 5 watching with my friend, who the Toronto Rock owner gave us seats to his box because he's the best fucking guy ever. I love the dude. And it was the coolest thing because we were expecting this to be in Jurassic Park. We actually ended up being inside, and my boss is sending me things because we were discussing how we can do a Regina Jurassic Park watch party. And we did for Game 5, and 14,000 people showed up. Wow. All young kids, kids who've never been to the stadium before. Football versus basketball, it's just a different breed. So my job is to create the experiences that make them come together. So 14,000 people were watching that game in Regina on that screen that's bigger than NBA basketball court. And then the next day, Game 7 was 12,000. We had Farmers Progress show, so people couldn't park, so that's why you had less people. But still, 12,000 people showed up. That's insane. Insane. Like, dude, insane. I remember being in the crowd just watching, and everybody's looking at me because they know where I came from. They know what I've done there. They know, and they're like, the next day I walked in the office, and there was like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I'm sorry too. I cried when they won. Absolutely. Not because I'm not getting a ring, because it's just so cool to see your team that you loved and worked so hard for finally win, and you're not fucking there, you know? But it is what it is.
The thing that I love most about you is that you're a go-getter. When you see an opportunity, you strike. And it goes back to the very start of our conversation where it's like, it's a marathon, not a sprint, but there's sometimes where you just have to sprint. I'm going to read off a quote for you. I want to see how you feel about it.
Okay, hit me.
I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination.
You just love scouring my social media. What does that mean? Sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where you're going to go, and you don't know how heavy the wind is going to be. Maybe it's a light day wind. Maybe it's a heavy day wind. But I'm going to do whatever I can to adjust my sail to make sure that I'm getting that wind so I keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. There's going to be days where your wind isn't moving and you're not moving, and you're going to feel stuck in that same spot on the lake. But then there'll be that day where that wind's going to catch up, and you have to be ready to pivot those sails and keep your boat moving. That's how I feel about life, and especially about career, because people who say I'm stuck, I'm not doing anything, I'm not getting jobs, I'm not doing that. Well, I understand there's some serious struggles out there, but when you put your mind to something and you want it, you will sacrifice to get what you want. You know, you'll volunteer time. I wouldn't be where I'm at without any volunteer. I still volunteer because it's not about this. It's about doing what you love. This comes after.
Yep.
It comes after. And it doesn't even matter. What does money really do? It gives you freedom? No, it doesn't give you anything. It just is money. It allows you to get nicer things, sure. What I was trying to say about that quote is why it resonated with me so much is that's how I feel. Days you're stuck. Days you get that big draft of win and you're like, whoa, it's peaks and valleys, man.
You summed it up perfectly. It hits close to home because it's a philosophy that I personally live by as well, where life is going to throw curveballs your way. You never know what you're going to expect, but all you have to do is just kind of make those adjustments needed.
The ship might flip. The ship may sink. The ship may not. The ship may flip over and turtle. You got to get back up.
Exactly.
As long as you're on the lake, man, you need to be in the playground. You need to be in the sandbox. You need to be in the water. You need to be on it, because if you're not on it, you're literally stagnant. You can't go anywhere. Just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So like for me, when you look at wind in a sailboat, sailboats are driven on the things you do and how you pivot to what comes your way. Right now, in this world we live in, everything's pivoting. You know, I'm producing content on Zoom calls, much like yourself. Yeah. I'm not producing games anymore. We're working on app-based gaming and doing things we haven't done, we're not comfortable with. But that's how you learn. So that's where the wind's going right now. So that's where I've turned the sail. The mast is now that way, and we're getting some wind and we're getting moving. So I think overall for that comment, that means a lot to me, because that's how I feel about life really at the moment in particular.
It's like what you said, this whole situation with coronavirus and everything, the wind shifted things in a different direction. And for a lot of people, taking this time to just kind of stay complacent and not really, they're like, you know, I'll wait till the world gets back to normal and then I'll continue on. You have to adjust now. And I'm so blessed and thankful, because if the pandemic never happened, I wouldn't be on this path right now. And I've told this to a lot of people, but in terms of all of the creative pursuits that I've ever had in my life, whether it be like acting or anything like that, this by far is the most fulfilling, and it's not even close. Money comes and goes, but once you find something that really truly fulfills you, that you like deep down love to your core, the money will come. I have no doubts about that. It's just as long as you're having that spiritual fulfillment, that deeper inner fulfillment, that's all that matters.
You're literally right now, what you're doing is you're doing something, you're honing your craft without even knowing it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure you look back at all these interviews and you're like, what could I have done differently? That's exactly what you need to do. That's what we do creatively. Every day I do something, I'm like, what could have I done better? Even if it was great, what could have been better? Could the intro be better? Or was it just good? And that's something I could focus on, other skills that I need to build and develop, which is kind of what I've been trying to do. It's good to be deep about that stuff. It's good that you're doing these things. Am I fulfilled? No, I'm not. My fulfillment is being in the moment and putting all the fruits of your labor into a 3.5-hour football game show. From our pregame experience outside a party in the park to what our entertainment teams are doing there, to negotiating and getting the bands and that's the stuff that I like. You work so hard and you put so much time, effort, creativity into things, and it's not happening right now. We're being creative in different ways, so it's not fulfilling. But you can't just sit here and not be fulfilled. You have to try new things and do new things, and that's what I'm trying to seek. What is that new fulfillment for me at the moment in time? I'm confident we will have games again in the CFL. I'm confident that I'll be playing a role in that. But for now, like, no, we were hoping for a Grey Cup in Regina. Not this year, unless we host Hub City games. But, you know, I think it's one of those things where you can pivot, have fun, be healthy and safe during coronavirus life. Life's okay. Just to do what makes you happy, man.
Exactly.
If you can't, then you're in the wrong business or what you're doing. Like, I'll be honest, I'm not perfect by any means. I'm sure I've made some mistakes. We all have. But As long as you don't make the same mistake twice. That's what I used to tell people, even like on the team. I'm like, you make the same mistake twice, then you're got to deal with it. Make the same mistake 3 times, then you're in shit, and you're like, you could lose a job. So the pros and grows, man. Legit, like pros and grows.
We're gonna wrap this up with some rapid fire. Favorite football player of all time?
This is not rapid fire at all.
Exactly, right?
Of all time?
Mm-hmm.
That's so hard.
All right, how about a top 5? If you can't think of one, top 5.
Ray Lewis. Just go with Ray Lewis.
Okay.
Ray Lewis. Because I love his
same position.
Linebacker. Guy was disgusting. Him, Dwight Freeney, Peyton Manning. Yeah, we'll stick with those 3 for now.
All right, cool. What's your favorite part of game entertainment?
I love taking somebody who is literally having a horrible, god-awful day and putting something funny on the board and having 20, 30,000 people laugh at it. And just knowing you were able to produce that moment for somebody or individuals or families, to me, that gets me excited. Not because it was successful, but because it makes people have a positive reaction. I'm a recreation sport business major, and the recreation side of me is all about making people happy and giving people an outlet. And so when you can do that in sports, whether you're a fan or whether you're not, that's the shit I love. The hip-hop, the crew that people loved because they're like, yo, these guys are sick. And I'm like, yeah, I went to like 4 different dance recitals to like find them, and they were like legit, and we negotiated with them, and we ended up paying for all the kids' classes, and then we got a bus company to bust them down. So like, it's just that shit gets me going, man. Like when you create opportunities for people.
Yeah.
Long-winded, but there you go.
No, that was great. All right, who's more fun to play, Iggy or Stripes?
That's tough. You know what? I really like Stripes, but it's going to be Iggy because Iggy, I didn't have to worry. I would climb over top of fans and like shake their hands and my butt would be right in their face, but they love that shit. Or like showing my abs and just like doing funny things. Stripes was a little more calculated because I needed to uphold the ginormous brand and it was a lot of pressure. So, and because it was so long ago, Stripes, it's got to be Iggy.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Who would play you in a movie about your life?
Oh, shit. Movie about my life? I would say Leonardo DiCaprio. Or I'd be like a Hemsworth because just I want to look like that.
All right, that's fair. All right, final question. What's something you would tell your 13-year-old self?
Ooh. Why does that hit hard right now? Does that hit hard for other people when you ask that?
Yeah, it does.
What would I tell 13-year-old Russell? To always be yourself, no matter what people say, and never back down. And also to not let factors that other people are doing impact your life. So I would tell 13-year-old Russell to be himself with reckless abandon and not care so much about things that don't matter.
Damn, nice, man.
Can I ask you one question before you go?
Go for it.
What's the most memorable moment you've had at a Raptors game in your time? And like not just like when they won the championship and you partied. Like,
yeah.
What's the most memorable interaction you've ever had?
There's one that stands out in particular. It was this past year. It's actually happened a couple times, but this is the most recent. It was always a thing, and you know this, where it was always a challenge. It's like, yo, who can start a wave? I'm always like, let's do it, let's go. But you can't just start it like that. It's very situational, you know? You can't start a wave when you're down like 20. It's not going to happen. But when you're up 20 and everyone's having a good time and everyone's fun, it's like, all right, let's go. So a couple people together in the upper bowl, I was like, guys, we're starting a wave. I don't care. We're up 20. We're making it happen. And everyone was like, all right, down. Let's see what happens. So what I did was I coordinated everyone to go in each section. So I was like, okay, you go here, you go here, you go here. And then basically just look out for me because I was, I think, in one of the corner sections.
324, 301 type thing?
Yeah. And I just told them, I was like, yo, watch out for me because you know me, I have a loud voice when I need to bring it out. I told everyone, tell everyone in your section what's happening. Tell them to watch out for this side. So then I get to my section, and with the loudest voice, I just tell everyone, I was like, guys, we're kicking their ass. We're starting a wave. And everyone was like, yeah, let's do it. So I was like, okay, it's going to start with us, and it's going to carry over. And then I looked over to the next section, and I was like, guys, you heard what I said? We're starting a wave, so you guys better watch it. So then I started, and then that whole section started first, and then Obviously, it took a couple tries, but I was like, when it doesn't work out, the first couple, you're just like, no, we can do better. Let's go. Eventually, it caught on and it started in the upper bowl and it started growing. And I was like, oh, shoot. And then it started going around the upper bowl. And I was like, yeah, we did it. The craziest thing happened next. Once it started happening in the upper bowl, the lower bowl followed suit. And it wasn't like half-assed in the lower bowl. Like they were doing it too. I was just like, what the fuck? Did I do that? I was like, holy shit. And it got to the point where even like the commentators like Jack Armstrong and Matt Devlin, they joined in on it. I remember watching like the game replay and then Jack was just like, look, the fans are having some fun here. Then like he joined in. I'm just like, I remember leaving that game like, you know what? That's what it's all about. Just having that one small moment just evolve into a whole thing. Oh, I get goosebumps thinking about it just because it was so great. But yeah, that was probably my most memorable moment.
That you nailed it, man. That's like, I don't know how many times you probably heard me say, like, if we're up by a lot, start a wave. Because I think there's a couple times I'm in the lower bowl. It's kind of rare what you're talking about. It's rare to get an upper bowl doing the wave without the lower bowl. Usually you need the lower bowl because more people focus. So the fact you were able to get it going in the upper bowl is impressive. And it's kind of almost like a layer cake in a way.
Yeah.
For Iggy in particular, I built up this rapport with the crowd so much because all I would do is crowd work. That's literally all I would do. And then at halftime, I would give the DJ upstairs a song and be like, okay, give me like Canned Heat, give me like disco something. Like I'm gonna like go up to like the refs and like shake my ass in front of them and do stupid shit. Like very simple things. And like I'll wear a pink tutu and do like Andrea Bocelli, like doing like rhythmic gymnastic, like Conti Partiro. Like I did that one time.
Nice.
And like when it hits like Conti Partiro.
Espera delegaré mi fin de trayecto es tú. Boats and hoe.
Like on that note, I like built it up and I was gonna do a jump, pretended to twinkle my feet, and I fell on my face, and everybody started laughing.
Man.
Well, on purpose, and it hurt, but it did because it was
Yeah.
funny. So I built up enough rapport with the fans. I would climb on the glass, hold my hand, and I'd be like, and they're like, oh, okay, and I'd be like, and then it would just happen. And it got to the point where by my third year of working and doing the games, like I could do that at any point and the fans would do it. And that's like, if you can do that, if you can like understand like the wave feeling of like starting and seeing people doing something, that is the feeling I feel when you're on a funny video and people laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember when I was doing Raptors games, like, oh, we produced this. I'm like, oh, I did a new blooper video. I wonder if these ones are gonna hit. Like, I wonder if they're gonna hit today. And then it's like, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, yes, that won't work. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, and then the one that you thought was funny that wasn't funny, you're like, shit, okay.
That was a great anecdote to leave it off of. Thank you again for coming on to the podcast. Going back to the start, thank you for taking that shot on me, because the path that it spiraled into to this point, I never would have thought possible.
Listen, Ben, like, I appreciate you thanking me, and it's great to talk to you and catch up. And just so you know, man, like it's not about us giving you a shot. It's you were in the right place at the right time. You're the right person for the job, and you proved it, right? The fact you're able to learn and make new friendships and be a part of a team, for me, that's fulfilling right now, because what's fulfilling for me is hearing that the team is still tight, that the people still like working together. They still like working for the Raptors. There's nothing more that I ever wanted being the leader of that group I wanted to see the team that I was able to lead. Now, they're not my team, they're our team, but be people that we can rely on. We did stuff together with the Leafs because I brought the attention to the Leafs saying, okay, you guys want to do a hype team. The direction is very similar now. We can learn from one another. It's different. And like, I would go to some Leaf games and like try to give them tips. Not because I needed to, not because I was getting paid, because I wanted to help. I wanted to help people understand, like, be your own person. Put your own spin on things. Well, nobody's telling you to be a robot. You look at other hype teams around the league, they have like all these crazy stunters. You don't need that. You don't need that. It's a really nice thing to have. Like, wrong. You just need people that understand how to approach different things in certain ways and be themselves through it all. So honestly, man, like, good for you, and like, keep killing it. And honestly, whatever happens that comes your way, it's going to be because you're a good dude, and that's all you can be. I'm a very, very, very small piece of your puzzle that you're continuing to solve. But I know when it's done, it's going to be a nice one that's difficult, because my puzzle is like 5,000 pieces and I'm only like 2,000 pieces in, bro. That's it. I got full of analogies today. Jeez.